A large part of my experience growing up was watching Cartoon Network whenever I was given the opportunity to. It didn't really matter what was on. If I wasn't watching SpongeBob, I was watching Cartoon Network. As somebody born in 2002, I grew up right in the middle of the downfall era of the channel. For those who are unaware, the mid to late aughts were a rough time in the network's history. While I won't get into specifics about show quality, a lot of their massively popular shows were winding down and getting ready to retire. Then, the writers' strike of 2007 hit. It's normal for networks to phase out shows and prioritize new media, but the writers' strike drastically shifted Cartoon Network's direction. Only about 3 cartoons actually came out during this period, those being Chowder, Total Drama Island, and Flapjack. But all production of cartoons basically stopped overnight. There's a whole story about See Unreal, which was a disastrous reality TV block that basically drained all the faith from Cartoon Network's current fans, but that's not really what this video is covering. If you'd like to learn more, there's a very good video by Quentin Reviews about it that you can watch after this one. This video is about the show that actually saved Cartoon Network. While many of you would immediately jump to Adventure Time, I don't think its first season really garnered much interest. As an Adventure Time enjoyer, Season 1 was incredibly hit or miss, and the show didn't really pick up until Season 2. The writing was also especially childish, not really meshing with Cartoon Network's normal audience of young teenagers. You can probably tell where I'm going just based off the thumbnail, but I think that regular show was the actual savior of the network. I think the reason as to why comes from a mix of a couple things. The relatability, the fun cast of characters, and the really sharp writing. For anybody in the teenager to young adult demographic, I'd wager that you're able to relate to Mordecai and Rigby really well. Their whole thing is that they're unlucky and don't want to apply themselves. The two definitely aren't unskilled, but they just don't have a reason to try a lot of the time. I mean, they work in a lame-ass job for a bunch of people that show zero respect for them. Of course they don't give a shit. I didn't give a shit working my first real job either. You too probably have been a Mordecai and Rigby at some point in your life. Don't lie. As a certified procrastinator with a case of ADHD, it's kinda hard to find motivation sometimes, believe it or not. Coupling this with point 2, the characters that Mordecai and Rigby interact with are just a blast to be around. Even if they're fantastical on the surface, they're all written as real people. They've all got strengths, weaknesses, areas they can grow, and their own relationships to deal with. I feel as though the Park Gang is alive more than many characters in other shows with a similar setup. I've met a Muscle Man. I've met a Skips. I've met a Benson. I've met a Pops. I've met all these people in my life. Even in Season 1, where Mordecai and Rigby share a lot of personality traits, they still have stark differences from each other. Mordecai isn't just more logical, he has his own goals and ambitions you can sense from the beginning. It's kinda hard to talk about without giving specific examples, but fuck it. Let's go over the whole first season of regular show together. I'm gonna make sure to highlight all the witty writing and character moments throughout this, as I think Season 1 stands out as being super strong. And quick side tangent, if you want me to cover more seasons of regular show, then why not like the video, comment down below that you want more, and hit subscribe. It really helps me out. Anyways, let's jump into the first season of regular show with... The Power is regular show's first episode, and I think it does a really good job getting us comfortable with the park and our two main leads. You probably remember how this one starts. There's a wrestling match between the guys and a doll, leading to a hole being busted in the wall. Rigby stole a keyboard from some wizard, so they decided to use it to ask Benson for a raise in the most Mordecai and Rigby way possible.
5, 6, 7, 8.
What are you doing?
Give us a raise, loser!
The two run across Skips, pointing their dicks at him before sending him to the moon. As it turns out, the power is actually magical, and Mordecai and Rigby have been using it to fuck with reality. Mordecai then gathers Benson and Pops before they head off to the moon to rescue Skips. Rigby, being the obviously wrong person to look after the keyboard, sent a bunch of other shit to the moon as well. The last third is probably my favorite, with the Chekhov's hand boning, everyone screaming to go home, and then putting the poster over the hole.
He won't now.
I'm really happy with this episode and how it turned out. It serves as a very solid opening for the season. It's definitely not perfect though. Not all of the jokes land and some of the character writing really felt off. The one who feels the most off writing wise is probably Benson. He's normally a really angry and apathetic character, and he's written way more level-headed compared to the rest of the series in my opinion. It's not a bad Benson, but it's a really different Benson. I don't have anything to compare it to right now, so I guess it's going at the top of the list. Yeah, let's just move into the next episode. Just Set Up the Chairs really showcases the potential of regular show. If it weren't for the power being the pilot, Just Set Up the Chairs would be the most recognizable episode this season by far. It's definitely got the most season 1 quirks about it. I even remember Cartoon Network playing this one a lot. So, Mordecai and Rigby are tasked with something incredibly simple, setting up a whopping 50 chairs. Mordecai, continuing to be the more responsible one, actually pushes to do it, while Rigby acts like a little piss baby about having to do work. So they run out of chairs, break park property, and find a spooky haunted arcade cabinet! Rigby, still throwing a hissy fit, turns on the creepypasta machine, and they're faced with fighting the so-retro monster.
Who unleashed the destroyer of worlds? Good show!
Skips come in, does the Skips thing, and they use their own retro monster to fight it. With the park destroyed, Benson then says they never have to set up the chairs again. Little trend I've noticed for both episodes so far, they've done the trope where one character's idea is dismissed as stupid, but it ends up saving the day in the end. Episode 1 had ham boning and episode 2 had button mashing. Even though it's really generic, I think it's a cute way of showing that Mordecai and Rigby need each other. Oh yeah, this is the first episode where Muscle Man appears. Oh, and I guess High Five Ghost as well. He doesn't do much, but for having 3 lines, he's mildly funny. This is also where the my mom joke comes in.
You know who likes special entertainment like that? My mom! Can I borrow $5?
I'll get into it later with a way better scene, but the my mom joke is peak ironic humor. We can throw a my mom counter in the corner, right? Yeah, okay, let's do it. All the side characters have at least one funny scene too, which is nice. Pops with his balloons, the special entertainment, Skips running into the bush, and Benson on the bus.
Just drive the bus, you crazy slop jockey!
Nothing made me laugh really hard, but I think it's just a really good time the whole way through. This is definitely going into first place so far, which just puts it above the power. On the other hand, Caffeinated Coffee Tickets is kind of a middling experience. Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty decent episode in the grand scheme of television, but something definitely feels off here.
Now they're back and ready to rock your 11 to 15-year-old pants off! That's our demographic, get over it!
Rigby wants to go see Limp Bizkit or some shit, and Mordecai wants some titties up in his face. Show's words, not mine.
I can't believe you're going to a fist pump concert just for some lady pecs.
Rigby, one day you'll be old enough to understand the real reason that people go to concert.
They then go to Benson, actually do their jobs, and earn a substantial paycheck. As it turns out, seeing Margaret's boobs is actually going to cost them $400, which in today's money would cost $567. Oh, that was only 13 years ago. They've got one final job, mowing the lawn, but they're out of coffee.
Need more coffee. Need more Margaret.
Luckily, Mordecai can get his titty fix from this giant coffee bean. Side tangent, this is the first, and definitely not the last time, the regular show is mildly racist against Asian people. As far as I can tell, a lot of the show's references are based on stuff from the 80s and 90s, and that includes a lot of the bad stereotypes from that period. They do get somewhat better in this regard, but it's definitely an uphill battle to get there. So Mordecai and Rigby get the bag, get drugged, get into a car chase, and then kind of be dicks to these guys.
You morons! Get back here and help me pick up my gumballs!
Like, I know they tried to kill our leads, but the dudes signed a contract and broke it. I don't really mind it too much though, as the ending stinger definitely makes up for it.
Oh crap.
I'm gonna be honest, there weren't a lot of good character moments or jokes here. This is Margaret's first episode, which is a rabbit hole in of itself. I have a lot to say about Margaret's character, but she mainly appears more in season 2. In terms of episode quality, this is worse than both The Power and Just Set Up the Chairs, so it's going right at the bottom. If you asked me my thoughts on explosions and needless violence, say, 5 years ago, you'd get a wildly different answer to today. As we grow older, we have to accept the truth. Explosions are funny. Why am I telling you this? Well, Death Punchies features a lot of explosions. The premise of this one is simple. Mordecai always wins at Punchies because Rigby is like a twink, so he throws a temper tantrum about it. Going to the Death Kwon Do dojo, Rigby does the unforgivable sin, ripping a page out of the Death Kwon Do textbook.
Tool of death. No! Sensei? I think somebody just Death Quan clogged the toilet.
He then promptly beats the shit out of everyone in the park, specifically looking to kill Mordecai. Luckily, Mordo brings protection, and Rigby cries about not getting to be player 1. He does, sucks at the game, then baby rages.
Snails are bad? I thought snails were good.
No, dude. Snails are bad.
Oh, man. This sucks.
As an avid Season 1 Rigby disliker, I'll get into it next episode, I really love the way he was handled here. The appeal to me comes from the fact that you're already supposed to hate Rigby. He is a grade A piece of shit throughout the first season, being the instigator for almost all, if not every single problem at the park. Him taking the title of villain and seeing him wreck shit only to be put in his place is incredibly satisfying. The joke pacing in this one is also just incredibly fast. There isn't a moment where they aren't trying to fit something funny in here. One Cheek Wonder, Pops getting punched into the sun, Rigby hitting random park guests, I can't see anything, the death dump, every single joke just hits so good. Easily a top tier episode. This is going above just Set Up the Chairs. Going from something as funny as Death Punchies to something as lame as Free Cake kinda sucks. The bros find a plate in the trash and want to eat some cake off it. And of course those broke-ass bitches can't afford $1.50.
Wait, how much does it cost?
$1.50.
Oh, I told you cake mix is too expensive.
So they then go and complain to Benson about it. Turns out it is Skip's birthday, so they could get some cake that way, but he doesn't celebrate his birthday. Mordecai and Rigby, really wanting that cake, try to throw Skips a surprise party,
Happy birthday, Skips.
even though he said he did not want one. They lie to Benson anyways, follow him into the woods, and Muscle Man whips it out in front of the rest of the park.
Hit the lights, it's almost 8 p.m.
Whoa! Skips is gonna be so surprised when he comes in and sees us totally naked.
It's not that kind of party, Muscle Man.
Oh.
Mordo and Riggs fuck up, almost kill Skips, and save the day with the cake they brought with them. Aside from the clips I played, I couldn't really find any other jokes. A lot of the humor in this episode is based on them saying, free cake, even though it's not that funny. Those two jokes are really, really good, don't get me wrong, but they can't save this episode from being down there overall. And also, Rigby is definitely at his worst here, at least for this season anyways. Like, he takes a special kind of cognitive dissonance to be okay with letting Skips die for some cake. Like, Mordecai isn't innocent here, but he does do the right thing eventually. Rigby, until the very last second, is such a big baby about the cake that he nearly kills Skips. And then he doesn't even, feel that sorry about it. The conflict here just feels really forced. They could have just celebrated this tomorrow. Ignoring that whole spiel, this episode's just fine. This one's got a couple good moments, and nothing's really too frustrating about it, but it's definitely of a lower quality. This is going below the power, but above caffeinated coffee tickets. Aside from the obvious, the power, and just Set Up the Chairs, Meet Your Maker is the episode that feels the most like Season 1 in my opinion. Its memorability definitely comes from the fact that it features 2 memes in this episode. I'll get to that stuff in due time, but I've got to cover the plot first. It's the annual park barbecue. Benson buys some fancy hot dogs and has Mordecai and Rigby take them by the grill. I never really got this plot point. Are they supposed to be defrosting? It does not really matter though, because Rigby happens to destroy them in typical Rigby fashion.
No, don't.
It's too late.
Come on, dude, don't.
It's already in motion.
Well, put it out of motion.
You pissed me off.
That's meme number 1. Something I commend Rigby for in this episode is his dedication to fixing his mistakes. You can definitely tell he's bothered by Mordecai viewing Rigby as a screw-up when it gets to his head. It's really sweet, and it's a pretty good character moment for Rigby in Season 1. Eventually, Rigby in typical Rigby fashion gets them locked in the meat locker,
Check it.
and they begin freezing to death. Mordecai's got a dream going on.
Oh, Mordecai.
Oh, Margaret.
That's meme number 2. And Rigby finds some nasty looking hot dogs. They bring them outside, a brawl happens, insert self 4 here, the day is saved. And Rigby, in typical Rigby fashion, pins all this on Benson, saving him and Mordecai's skin. It's honestly a really heartfelt stinger. I thought this episode was honestly just a lot of fun all around. The episode is never dull, and you can really feel Rigby's struggles in it. Like, knowing the context later in the show about Rigby's family, it just makes these scenes even better. It's not crazy funny or anything, but the jokes they do whip out are actually pretty good. I'm gonna put this one below just to set up the chairs and above the power.
I made chili.
When I was rewatching this series, I genuinely thought that this one came way later, but I guess that was a Mandela effect kind of thing. Grilled Cheese Deluxe sees Mordecai and Rigby getting into a lying contest and almost dying. Rigby steals Benson's lunch, watches the ostrich with the balls again, and then they have to go buy him a new one. Rigby, of course, gets pissy when some astronauts cut in front of him. Mordecai and Rigby, realizing they can lie their way to the front, do so, and then Rigby tattles to the real astronauts, eventually bringing the two over to mission control.
Now, I hope you're up to spending $2.5 million in taxpayers' money, because we're driving.
A long sequence of lying occurs where not a lot really happens, and then they eventually reach the antimatter particle accelerator.
You must sacrifice yourself to save thousands of lives, Lieutenant.
No! Don't listen to him, Mordecai! Don't do it!
Do it! Throw him in! Throw him in!
They then get sucked into a black hole, blowing up Benson's lunch. There are a couple jokes I like here, and those are the ones that I showed, but I also like Dr. Asinoskovich getting embarrassed. And of course the stinger about running over Benson's lunch at the end is a classic.
We ran it over by accident.
The thing that prevents this one from getting higher in my eyes is the fact that Mordecai and Rigby just bicker for no reason. It's not really funny or interesting, and it just kind of slows down the plot's momentum. I can mostly look past it though. Unrelated, but I really like the new side characters they have here, as well as the visuals in the antimatter condenser. I'm gonna put this one below Meet Your Maker, but above the power. I have a lot to say on the unicorns have got to go, and a lot of it is not positive. This episode starts with Mordecai falling for manipulative advertising, buying some shitty cologne.
What kind of loser would want a bunch of chicks tearing their clothes off?
That body spray stanks so bad it attracts a group of unicorns a middle schooler might find cool.
Mordecai, Rigby, wonderful day we're having. Oh.
These unicorns try to help Mordecai rizz up Margaret. They make him drink unicorn splooge, then put unicorn splooge in his hair, and then Rigby starts hanging out with the splooge squad. He then invites all his new bros over for a party, and they trash the house. Benson gets his balls chewed on.
Check this out.
And Rigby gets brapped on, resulting in Mordecai and Rigby reconvening. They go to Skips, and then blow up the unicorns.
But what if they come back? They ain't coming back.
This episode is definitely the worst of the season. It's kind of unfunny the whole way through. The only jokes I really even liked was them eating Benson's gumballs. The problem is that the unicorns are just really, really annoying. And I understand that they're supposed to be the antagonists of the episode, but they're not really fun antagonists to watch. I was having a hard time pinpointing what exactly felt wrong about this episode before I put it together. This doesn't feel like an episode of Regular Show. If anything, this exudes Adventure Time Season 1 way more than Regular Show Season 1. Part of the plot structure of Regular Show episodes is that everything is normal for about the first 2/3 before shit goes off the rails in the last third. And this one, shit's already going crazy from the get-go. It starts out weird and there isn't any kind of twist to it. Traditions are meant to be broken, but sometimes, if it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it. A lot of later episodes of Regular Show also have this issue, but this is the first one where it really happened. I'm putting this one at the bottom of the list, no questions asked. I think it's safe to say we've gotten through all the mediocre episodes, so it's going to be a little more smooth sailing from here. Prank Callers starts with Mordecai and Rigby watching the master prank caller on TV, and now they're inspired to do their own prank calls. They do some Joe Mama jokes before Benson turns off the phone.
Ring, ring. Hello, what's that? Mordecai and Rigby are banned from using the house phone? Okay.
They borrow some tumor-causing phones from Pops and try to call the master prank caller from there. Mordecai and Rigby become baked potatoes and get pwned over and over again, before eventually the master prank caller gets so pissed he warps them to the 80s. Your usual 80s stuff happens before Mordecai and Rigby call the rest of the Park Gang and warp them back in time as well. They then beat the master prank caller at his own game with an answering machine, and then they all become friends in the end. This episode's just really consistently funny the whole way through. I can't really think of a bad moment. There's of course the ring ring bit, which is a classic. I can't help but quote that one all the time, it's really good. Another iconic moment was when Mordecai and Rigby kept getting changed into uglier and uglier 80s clothes by the master prank caller. They also hit Pops with the cart, and the master prank caller's responses to Mordecai and Rigby's crappy prank calls were also really funny. Oh yeah, and then Benson's chair just disappears at the end, that's also really good. Regular Show is a way of excellently stringing together jokes, and I love it. I don't think it reaches the comedic highs of Death Punchies, but it's definitely up there. I'm gonna put it above Just Set Up the Chairs and below Death Punchies.
Oh, I would, but I'm holding to talk with Joe Mama.
Dawn is up next. Pops tried to pay off the IRS with lollipops, and now they're auditing the park. Benson asks the gang if they know anybody who could.
Does anyone know someone who can help us? Anybody. Anybody at all.
I know someone who can help.
If you say your mom, you're fired.
My mom?
Get out!
Rigby reluctantly calls up his Giga Chad brother to help. Dawn, unlike Rigby, is actually cool, so everyone bonds with him pretty instantly.
Hey, who's this guy?
I'm Pops.
Pops, give me some sugar.
Rigby, being an asshole, tells his brother to fuck off, resulting in everything in the park being sucked into the Matrix. The two of them then reconvene in a really sweet way, ultimately saving the park. While the episode wasn't laugh out loud funny the whole way through, it still got me kind of emotional. We actually get some explanation as to why Rigby is such a dickhead, and it's foreshadowed that Rigby didn't exactly have the best family life back home. When the two of them hugged, I had a really big stupid smile on my face. It was just such a wholesome moment. If it was just that, then it would probably rank pretty highly, but nowhere near the top. I think this episode is my favorite joke from the entire season. It's that Muscle Man clip I played earlier, and it perfectly encapsulates why Muscle Man is so funny. Muscle Man's "my mom" joke in that clip is not the joke there. The reaction to Muscle Man's "my mom" joke is the joke. Muscle Man is so confident that his crappy joke is hilarious, it loops back around into being funny because of how confident he is. His smug, shit-eating grin slowly appearing on frame is so funny, because you know what he's going to say. It's the implication of a "my mom" joke, and not the actual joke that's the funny part. It's like seeing one of those post-ironic memes where you know what it's referencing, and it's funny because it's making a reference, not because the original joke is actually that funny. This might be controversial, but I think I'm gonna put Dawn above Death Punchies. The comedy was way better in Death Punchies, but I think I felt Dawn on a more spiritual level. Plus, who could ever pass up giving Dawn some sugar? Going at the top of the list. Rigby's body starts with Mordecai and Rigby stuffing so much garbage into their face they feel like dying. Mordecai goes and tosses a salad, while Rigby, in typical Rigby fashion, does the totally rational thing by eating exponentially more garbage. Rigby's done a lot of nasty shit, but the soda donut chip smoothie always makes me gag a little. The whole first third of this episode also encapsulates why I don't really like early Rigby. He's so stubborn to prove a point that he'll hurt himself and others in the process.
I showed him.
Mordecai can sometimes be like this, but is Rigby's defining character trait early on. Rigby continues to shovel crap into his face until his body just throws him away. Mordecai finds him, they go to Skips, and the two with actual bodies go out to find Rigby's soulless corpse. Rigby, in his doohickey, goes to pay a visit to Muscle Man and High Five Ghost.
Wait, what is that?
Give me some snacks!
What are you?
Looks like a bucket of diarrhea.
Hey wait, High Five Ghost? This is like his only speaking appearance this season, and his voice is so much weirder compared to the later seasons too. Kinda parallel to that, Muscle Man also sounds way different this season. Well, for about half his episodes he sounds way different. The other half he sounds way closer to normal Muscle Man. It's actually a really good indicator of where the episodes fall in production order. In Just Set Up the Chairs, Caffeinated Coffee Tickets, and Rigby's Body, he has the old voice, and in the rest of his appearances he has the new voice. Those three in The Power were the first 4 episodes produced. Okay, I'm going on a tangent, let's get back to the episode. Rigby gets thrown away and meets a red guy. The red guy steals Rigby's body, fuels sexy Rigby fan art, and they decide to do it
The Skips way.
They have a brief fight, run over Rigby, the red guy becomes a slide, and we see the meme.
Dude, how do you feel?
Like Meet Your Maker, this one is just a really fun time the whole way through. This episode's cathartic because Rigby gets punished for being an asshole, and he does somewhat learn his lesson at the end. Rigby's shenanigans are a little gross in the beginning, but I think it makes up for it by the end. I'm going to put it below prank callers, but above just set up the chairs.
Well, Mordecai, I guess you were right about the snack bar being lame. Especially now that we're not into eating all the free snacks.
Oh, about that. Those snacks weren't free.
What?
Turns out, only Pops get snacks for free.
Pops?
Yeah.
Final episode of the season. Mordecai and the Rigbys is the dynamic duo making fake band shirts, only to get wrapped up in an open mic night. They then go see Pops, who gives them YouTube tutorial videos on records. The electronics go haywire, and British Mordecai and Rigby descend from the future. An 80s training montage then occurs, getting them ready for the show. And then there's a pretty cool music video sequence in the middle of which Mordecai discovers they were lip syncing. They then break up the band, killing their future selves. Honestly, I don't think I have a lot to say on this episode. It's mostly montages. Like, there's a training montage and a music video sequence, both in this episode. Don't get me wrong, they look cool, and the episode's definitely not boring, but there are just no jokes here. They played almost entirely straight this episode. If it weren't for the time travel, this would be one of the most normal regular show episodes. It kinda middles out for me, I think. I think I'm going to put it below Grilled Cheese Deluxe, but above The Power. This is just one of the most average feeling episodes to me. And with that, I've covered every episode of Regular Show's first season. Hopefully you can now tell why I think Regular Show is the reason that Cartoon Network was saved. The humor is just on point in so many of these episodes. The writing just immediately sticks out in your mind whenever you think back to it. Like, I hadn't touched Regular Show in literal years, and when I came back to rewatch these, I felt a strong sense of nostalgia. Like, I could so clearly remember the episodes beat for beat. And for those of you who aren't keeping track, this is my episode ranking for the season. And don't take 12th or 11th place as these episodes being anywhere near awful. They would probably be good episodes in a show with average quality, but they just fall short to the high highs of Regular Show's first season. And for the most part, things keep getting better after this as well. Every season except 4 and 8 outclass Season 1, with Season 2 being downright incredible. And again, if you want me to cover those other seasons, why don't you leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. Viewer support is what keeps me going when I make new videos.